Hi everybody, welcome to today's session. So today we are going to see MCQs in the region of thorax. To start with, atypical intercostal nerve includes all except. So you see four options here. Which of these is not an atypical intercostal nerve? Option C, right? So what do you mean by intercostal nerve? The ventral rami of the thoracic spinal nerve. Yeah, T1 to T11. They run in between the ribs in the intercostal space and they are called intercostal nerves. The typical intercostal nerves are T3 to T6. Why are they called typical? Because they are confined to the intercostal space in which they supply. And atypical, T1, T2, T7 to T11, right? So T1 is atypical because it's going to contribute to brachial plexus that supplies upper limb. T2 forms the intercostobrachial nerve that joins with the medial cutaneous nerve of arm to supply a medial, posteromedial aspect of the axilla and the arm. T7 till T11, they are the thoraco-abdominal nerves which go on to supply the anterior abdominal wall, right? Moving on to the second question, the right superior intercostal vein drains into, any idea? So here, the posterior intercostal veins on each side are 11, right? So we'll divide into first, second, third, and fourth, okay? And then fifth to 8th, 9th to 11th. So what's happening on each side? The first posterior intercostal vein on the right side and on the left side, they drain into the brachiocephalic vein. Okay, the first posterior intercostal vein. The second, third, and fourth, they form the superior intercostal vein. The superior intercostal vein on the left side will drain into left brachiocephalic vein. The right superior intercostal vein will drain into arch of azygos vein. Okay. On the right side, 5th to 11th, all of them will drain into the vertical part of the azygos vein. Okay. Whereas on the left, as you see here, the 5th to 8th posterior intercostal vein will drain into accessory hemiazygos vein and 9th to 11th will drain into hemiazygos vein. Okay. So this you should definitely know. Joints of thorax. Primary cartilaginous joint. An example, any idea? Okay, we'll see it. So what are the joints of thorax that you see here? Manubrioscanal joint, xiphisternal joint, and the intervertebral joint that you see here. Between the body of the vertebra, all the three are example of secondary cartilaginous joint, which is also called symphysis, right? Manubrioscanal, xiphisternal, and intervertebral joints. Okay. Now coming to the joint between the cartilage, right? The costal cartilage and the sternum. You know, there are 7 ribs articulating with the sternum. These joints are called chondrosternal. Chondrosternal joints. Of the 7 chondrosternal joints, the first one, okay, it is an example of primary cartilaginous joint. Okay, and all the others, they are synovial joint. Done. Now coming to this joint between the costal cartilage and the rib itself, okay, that is called as costochondral joint. So there shouldn't be any movement, right? They all should be move as a single unit. These costochondral joints, all of them are primary cartilaginous. Now the joint between the rib and the vertebra, the costochondral vertebral joint, and the costotransverse joint. All of them are plain synovial joint. Okay. What is the posterior most structure in the hilum of the right lung? Easy. So whether it is right lung or the left lung, the posterior most structure in the hilum will always be the cartilage. Okay. The bronchus. Yeah. The trachea divides at the bifurcates at the level of T4 into right and left bronchus. The bronchi entering inside the lung, made up of hyaline cartilage. That will be the posterior most. Okay. This is your pulmonary ligament. Just above the pulmonary ligament, you will have the inferior pulmonary vein. The anterior most structure is superior pulmonary vein. The posterior most structure in the hilum will be the cartilage. I mean the bronchus. Okay. So the arrangement of structures from anterior to posterior will be vein, artery, bronchus. Okay. Which of the following lies in the intersegmental plane in bronchopulmonary segment? Bronchopulmonary segment is a very important question. You should definitely know. Yes. So what is bronchopulmonary segment? The area of the lung that is aerated by one single tertiary bronchi. It is wedge-shaped. The apex of the wedge will be lying towards the opening of the tertiary bronchus. The base will be on the surface of the lung. So each segment, if you see, it will have the tertiary bronchus, a branch of the pulmonary artery, a branch of the bronchial artery. Whereas between the segments, can you see here? You'll get to see the pulmonary veins. The pulmonary veins are intersegmental in position. They help you to see, to identify the demarcation between the segments. Okay. How many bronchial arteries are there on each side? Right side, one bronchial artery, left side, two bronchial arteries. And these bronchial arteries are branches of descending aorta. Sometimes the right bronchial artery can come from, yes, from one of the left bronchial arteries also. So how many bronchopulmonary segments are there? 10 on each lung, okay? The apical, posterior, anterior, lateral, medial, apical basal, anterior basal, lateral basal, posterior basal, medial basal. In the left lung, what can happen? The apico-posterior, they both, apical and the posterior segment of the upper lung can be aerated by one single tertiary bronchus. And sometimes the medial basal segment can be absent. So there is 8 to 10, but remember 10 in each lung, okay? And the apical segment of the lower lobe and the posterior segment of the upper lobe, they are common site for lung abscess, okay? Posterior mediastinum content, easy. Arch of aorta lies in the superior mediastinum. Tracheal bifurcation, middle mediastinum. Splanchnic nerves, greater, lesser, least, all of them in the posterior mediastinum. Left recurrent laryngeal nerve, superior mediastinum, right? So we know that an imaginary horizontal plane passing through the T4 vertebra divides the mediastinum into a superior and inferior. Inferior is further divided into anterior, middle, and posterior. So what do you get to see in the superior mediastinum? It starts and ends with a muscle. So immediately behind the sternum, you get to see the origin of sternohyroid, sternothyroid. Behind that, the thymus. Behind that, arch of aorta with the three main branches that you see there. And that is crossed by phrenic nerve, vagus nerve, cardiac nerve. Behind the arch of aorta, you'll get to see the trachea, esophagus. In between that, the left recurrent laryngeal nerve. Okay, the thoracic duct will be there. And then posterior most, the longest colli muscle, right? In the anterior mediastinum, sternopericardial ligament, loose areolar tissue, retrosternal lymph nodes, mediastinal branches of internal thoracic artery. Middle mediastinum will have the pericardium that's enclosing the heart, the superior vena cava that's entering in, okay, in the intrapericardial part with the arch of the vein. And then you'll get to see the pulmonary veins that ascending aorta, pulmonary trunk, behind the tracheal bifurcation, deep cardiac plexus, okay. Those are the main contents of your middle mediastinum. Posterior mediastinum again will be, phrenic nerve is also in the middle mediastinum, right? Here between, you can see the phrenic nerve and the pericardiacophrenic curve is middle mediastinum. Posterior mediastinum, the esophagus, thoracic duct, descending aorta, okay, posterior intercostal veins, posterior mediastinal lymph nodes, splanchnic nerves, all that are contents of, yes, the vagus nerves, all that are contents of posterior mediastinum. Obtuse border of heart, you see, the left border of heart is called the obtuse border of heart. Heart, you should be thorough, right? So the right border of the heart, what forms the right border of the heart? The right atrium, from the opening of SVC to the opening of IVC, this convex border is called the right border of the heart. It will be represented by the sulcus terminalis. Okay. From the opening of IVC to the apex of the heart, that's the inferior border of the heart. It is sharp and is called the acute border also. Okay, the inferior border is called the acute border. And this one, the left border of the heart, from the apex of the heart to the left auricle, is sort of obtuse, convex. That's called the obtuse border of heart. Contents of anterior interventricular sulcus. Yes. You can see the four options there. What is the answer? Anterior interventricular branch of left coronary, which is also called the left anterior descending artery, and the great cardiac vein. You see the anterior interventricular sulcus here on the sternocostal surface, and this is the posterior interventricular sulcus here on the diaphragmatic surface. So here the anterior interventricular sulcus, the artery that you see here is the anterior interventricular branch of left coronary or the left anterior descending artery, accompanied by the great cardiac vein. And here, posterior interventricular branch accompanied by the middle cardiac vein. This is your anterior part of the atrioventricular groove. You see the right coronary artery, and these veins crossing it will be the anterior cardiac veins. The left part of the atrioventricular groove, you get to see the left circumflex artery and the great cardiac vein. Posteriorly, one second, yes. Posteriorly, here, this part of the atrioventricular groove between the right atrium and the right ventricle on the posterior aspect, you can see the right coronary artery, okay, and the small cardiac vein accompanying here. The left part of the atrioventricular groove is occupied by the coronary sinus, okay, and yeah, the left circumflex artery. The anastomosis between the right coronary artery and the left circumflex artery. So the content of each groove, you should be very thorough. Moderator band is present in which chamber of the heart? Four options. The answer is yes. So what is moderator band? All of you must be knowing, right? It's also called the septomarginal trabeculae, extending from the right surface of the interventricular septum to the base of the anterior papillary muscle. What does it contain? The right branch of AV bundle. Okay, so it prevents overdistension of the right ventricle assumed to be, and hence it's called moderator band. Coronary dominance is based on the origin of, yes, posterior interventricular artery, which mostly arises from right coronary artery. So you see the right coronary artery here. The right coronary artery originates from anterior aortic sinus. Okay. So what is happening to the right coronary? It will give rise to the right conus artery, then branches to supply the sternocostal surface of the right ventricle. One goes along the inferior border, that's called right marginal artery. Branches to supply the right atrium, they go on to supply the SA node. Behind, if you see, branches will be given off to supply the posterior surface of the right atrium, the right ventricle, and then the posterior interventricular branch. The right coronary crosses the crux of the heart to anastomose with the left coronary. So branches arising from this part will also supply the diaphragmatic surface of the left ventricle. Now this posterior interventricular branch will give rise to septal branches. Okay, these septal branches, the first one will supply the AV node, and the rest of it will supply the postero-inferior 1/3 of interventricular septum. So distribution of right coronary will be right atrium, right ventricle, yes, and part of the left ventricle, postero-inferior 1/3 of the interventricular septum, SA node, AV node, all that. Okay. The left coronary arises from the left anterior aortic sinus there. Okay. It has a very short trunk that's going to divide into left anterior descending, left circumflux. The left anterior descending or the anterior interventricular branch that's going to give rise to the left conus artery, branches to supply the sternocostal surface of the right ventricle, the left ventricle, and then septal branches that supply antero-superior 2/3 of the interventricular septum. The left circumflux will give branches that run along the margin, the left border called the obtuse marginal. It goes on to supply the left atrium, the diaphragmatic surface of left ventricle. Okay. So on the whole, it supplies left atrium, left ventricle, part of the right ventricle, and the septum, antero-superior 2/3. Right? Which of the following is not a tributary of coronary sinus? Any idea? The anterior cardiac veins. So there's a picture on coronary sinus, right? So the coronary sinus receives the great cardiac vein. It receives the left marginal vein and opens into the coronary sinus. Okay. It receives the middle cardiac vein, the small cardiac vein, the posterior vein of the left ventricle, the oblique vein of left atrium. Whereas the anterior cardiac veins, they open directly into the right atrium. Structure accompanying aorta through the aortic opening of diaphragm is a thoracic duct. So the major openings in the diaphragm, you know, the vena cava opening, the esophageal opening, and the aortic opening. Vertebral level of vena cava opening will be T8, esophagus T10, aorta T12. Structure accompanying the inferior vena cava, any idea? Branches of right phrenic nerve. Okay. Esophagus, the right and left vagus nerve. Right and left vagus nerve. And then branches of left gastric artery. Aorta, thoracic duct. Sometimes the azygos vein. Okay. So moving on to the 13th question. The distance of the cricopharyngeal constrictor from the central incisor is around. 4 options are given and the answer is. So what are the sites of constrictions of esophagus? The first one at its beginning. Yeah. The pharyngoesophageal junction, vertebral level C6. Next, where it's crossed by arch of aorta T4. The third one where it's crossed by left bronchus T6. And the last one where it passes through the esophageal opening of the diaphragm T10. Okay. So the distance of these constrictions from the incisor teeth. The first one is 6 inches, then 9 inches, 11 and 15 inches. In thoracocentesis, the needle is introduced along, yes, to avoid injury to the intercostal vessels there. So the intercostal vessels, the neurovascular structures in the intercostal space, they are lodged in the costal groove that appears along the lower border of the rib. So if this is the upper rib, you can see along the lower border, these structures there. So the best place will be to introduce the needle, the upper border of the lower rib. Arrangement of structures in that will be the intercostal vein, intercostal artery, and intercostal nerve. 15th question. Posterior to transverse pericardial sinuses. What is the posterior relation? Superior vena cava. So pericardial sinus, you should be thorough. There are 2 in number, the transverse pericardial sinus and the oblique pericardial sinus. The transverse pericardial sinus is anteriorly related to the ascending aorta, the pulmonary trunk. Okay. Posteriorly will be related to the superior vena cava. Anteriorly, the structures develop from conus, the truncus arteriosus. Behind will be the venous structures. And above, the bifurcation of the pulmonary trunk. Below, the upper margin of the left atrium. The oblique sinus, as you see here, It will be closed on all sides except below. Above, it will be related to the upper margin of the left atrium. Right side by the right set of pulmonary veins. Left side by the left set of pulmonary veins. Anteriorly by the posterior surface of the left atrium. Posteriorly the parietal layer of fibrous pericardium and open below. Right? So yes, any doubt in today's session, you can get back to me, guys. Thank you.